Welcome to the Leaders Code podcast, a space where the voices of women leaders echo with courage, wisdom, and purpose. Here we uncover the inner code that guides impactful leadership, the roles they step into, the values they stand for, and the legacy they are building. I am your host, Rawal Ayoubi, and together we will explore what it truly means to lead with confidence, integrity, and soul. A remarkable woman leader is a strong woman, not because life was easy, but because she never surrendered. She sees opportunity in every challenge, holds her head high with confidence, and deeply knows her worth. She walks with grace, commands respect without ever needing to ask for it, and treats others with dignity. Yes, she listens to her heart, but she never forgets her mind. She lifts others as she climbs, leads with purpose, and nurtures with wisdom. She is a multitasker, the visionary, and the woman of strength and compassion. Today we sit down with one such woman, bold, brilliant, and truly inspiring, to hear her leadership journey in her own words. She is the Deputy Principal at Unity Grammar. Welcome, Mariam, today with us. I'm so thrilled to welcome you, a lady who truly embodies these qualities. Thank you for coming and joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
I want you to introduce yourself as we start, please, Mariam.
My name is Mariam Zeitouneh Bernard. I am currently the Deputy Principal at Unity Grammar, which is an Islamic independent school. I have been a Deputy Principal for almost 3 years now, alhamdulillah, and I have had a tremendous journey from hairdresser to science officer to now Deputy Principal.
Wow. I want you to take us to the beginning. What drew you into leadership, Mariam?
That's a really interesting question, because I don't know if I was drawn to leadership or whether I was naturally doing leadership things. So I had leadership characteristics in some of my activities and how I presented myself or did my work. It was actually somebody else's vision of my leadership that inspired me to look deeper as to what my leadership looked like, and allowed me to embrace leadership. It started way back when I first started my teaching degree, and I was thrown into positions of leadership, and it came naturally purely because maybe I was a mum at the time, and I think the leadership team thought that was the same characteristic that I needed to lead, that I could multitask and I could handle situations promptly and effectively. And subhanAllah, it just grew from there. It took on more responsibilities and grew in my space as a leader. And it wasn't until much later that I realised that I was a leader. So I was doing leadership things, but didn't know I was a leader until many years later, where I think people started telling me, hey, you're a leader. And it took me some time, but I finally got the picture.
Wow, that's really inspiring. So I know that with your high quality leading in the school, you are a coach as well. And I want you to tell me about these two roles and what's the connection between them and which one you choose.
Oh, I love both of them. Leading is slightly different to coaching. Leading is by allowing spaces to evolve so that others can grow. And while coaching does the same thing, in coaching it's allowing people to navigate their own spaces and navigate their own destinies, navigate their own paths and journeys. With leading, it's actually a little bit more guiding and recognising within others their ability to grow, their characteristics of leadership, their strengths. Sometimes, their strengths lie in things that they don't see, and it's being able to recognise that as a leader and helping them fulfil and grow those particular characteristics so that they can thrive themselves.
Yeah, I think this is very important to support others as well. And you told me before that you are supporting a lot of ladies. So if there's any story that you can tell us about how did you unlock a potential for one lady or a leader or emerging leader?
There has been many different stories in the many years of my position as deputy principal, and before that head of wellbeing or head of science, or even in a leadership space. I think it's been a number of instances, specifically about realising that a lot of ladies, particularly upcoming leaders, needed safe spaces, opportunities to unpack what it is that could be bothering them or could be on their mind in regards to navigating the next path. Being able to provide those opportunities and then guiding them to think about how they would strategise about their next steps opened up opportunities for them to then go ahead and choose a journey that they had developed themselves. I think specifically I've helped, I can't think of any one specific, but I think more so than anything, a situation that comes to mind is being able to, particularly within the ladies that I work with, empower them to be a lot more confident in realising their goals and strategising and looking at opportunities rather than challenges. I've seen a lot of growth in a lot of women around me purely by being able to unpack and have the safety in the space to do so.
This guides me to ask you this question about specifically women leadership. So your identity as a woman, how this identity shaped your leadership journey?
It's a very important question, and the journey itself was very it was very rocky initially because as a woman I didn't feel that I was up to the challenge of being a leader, which is why initially I didn't recognise my own leadership skills or characteristics. And of course other people tended to see the leadership characteristics within me. As a woman, I brought a lot of empathy and being able to be transformational in the sense of how to navigate certain situations. And as a woman, initially, it was really difficult to recognise. But once I received the support and the structure and the identity of who I was myself, I was able to navigate that. And then I recognised a number of different hindrances and obstacles which I now know that I didn't realise earlier on in my leadership career that stopped me or hindered me from progressing quite quickly.
So there are a lot of challenges, and this is really resonates with a lot of women that I spoke with. A lot of hurdles that women in leadership is going through or are going through, and do you have to push your way through to do something, Mariam, in leadership, or it was easy for you? How do you feel now if you look back and tell me?
Wow.
What were I want you to tell me what were the decision point you made in your career, and what you feel about your choices now.
Okay, so look, I do want to recognise that, again, going back to my earlier point about not recognising my leadership, as I grew and I learnt and developed and became more experienced in my role and who I was as a leader, I discovered there's something called imposter syndrome. Now, I know that resonates with many, many women, and the idea that I wasn't good enough for the role that I was within, regardless of how hard I worked at it. Yes. And in comparison, of course, as a female, in comparison to my male counterparts, it was just something I didn't know where it came from. Whether it was just, it definitely wasn't the males within my team who made me feel that way at all. It was my own innate understanding of who I was as a person and as a leader. And understanding imposter syndrome and then recognising it and then clarifying that, this is actually something that people go through, and then unpacking that. I went to a fantastic PD when I was doing a women's leadership PD with the IIS, and they were phenomenal, and unpacking imposter syndrome and then going, oh, hold on a second, I actually recognise that. That's a characteristic I had. It was the holding back, the not putting myself forward, the not being confident enough to say, yes, I'm actually more than capable of doing this.
But what helped you overcome this challenge?
It was, it was really recognising it and understanding it for what it is, and then making, really owning my own achievements and being able to say, you know what, I have achieved all of these things. I have worked really hard, and, you know, what's the loss of me putting my hand forward or putting my hand up for something? Yep. What's the worst that someone can say no? So I just went ahead and started taking more risks and looking at some of these challenges as opportunities. If I felt like I didn't belong because I didn't think I was capable, then I thought, oh, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? And I just started throwing myself into opportunities and learning from them. When no was the answer, I would be like, okay, well, let's have a look, let's reset, and let's identify areas of improvement. So that allowed me to grow and allowed me to improve within myself, within my leadership capacity, and of course, you know, just as a general person in any role, really.
How do you name this phase? Do you name it as a failure? And how do you respond to this failure?
Oh, absolutely not a failure. We are often made to think that failures are a negative thing. And in fact, rather than failing, I feel that these are challenges that are transformed into opportunities, because we need to be able to fail to recognise what we don't know. And the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. And if you fail in that, then you start to know, and you start to understand and grow that knowledge in that area, and that helps you overcome, you know, your uncertainties and you know, your apprehensions about what it is that you can and cannot do. So failing isn't a bad word. It's actually a really good word, and you need to be able to fail so that you can grow. And failing is an opportunity and not a challenge at all.
I love that. I love this. Beautiful. But how do you stay grounded in this moment of pressure and uncertainty? We know all of these days now, it's just going to change. That's the only constant things these days that we go through. So how, Mariam, stay grounded in these moments?
Well, there's several factors that allow me to stay grounded. My faith keeps me grounded. I know that where I am and what I'm doing is all by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have complete tawakkul in His plan. I also understand that for me, it's more about how do I show others that they can achieve. And I feel like the saying often goes, if I can do it, then anybody can. And I want that to resonate with anybody who feels that there are challenges and that they can't grow, that, you know what, give it a go. And grounding means that you need to stop and reflect. Reflection is tremendous in the growth opportunities of a leader. You really need to stop every now and again and reflect on what your values are, your vision. Are you resonating with that? Are you steering away from that? If you are steering away, then that's the opportune time to sort of regather, reset, and be able to move forward on your values and your vision, and inshallah, you know, making sure that you're reaching the goals that you aspire to.
So excellent. Stay connected with your vision and purpose.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful inspiration for others as well. But I want to go through now motivation. As a leader, we know that we have to start with ourselves first. I know you are motivating others now to found their purpose or their vision. But how Mariam stay motivated when she does something meaningful, but it goes unnoticed?
Yeah. For me, it's about the bigger picture. I tend to look at, even if my impact is small, it's hopefully a positive impact and it will lead to greater things later. Remaining motivated is basically looking 5 years into the future. For me, it's not about what I'm achieving right now, because what I'm achieving right now is only small steps, and there's going to be larger steps taken over the next few years, and to reach a vision that's 5-10 years away. If it happens, it's great, and if it doesn't, that's fine too, because then that will give me the opportunity to continue to grow as a leader, continue to grow others around me, and it may be that somebody else may reach that goal and I watch on the sideline, and I'm fine with that. So what motivates me is that being able to inspire others to see themselves for what they are, and to embrace their strengths and their overall value, and know that they are worth that risk, and they are worth taking that extra step, and they are worth thinking of themselves as something more.
So keep giving back to communities. This is Mariam. Huh?
It is.
And I feel like, this is connected with yourself as a leader now. It's the transition from being a manager to be a leader. It's connected with long-term goals. So I want you to tell me what unique roles that do you think we need to bring into leadership. We need women to bring into leadership that goes like probably undervalued now. What do you think as role that women will be excellent into to bring into leadership?
Look, women are unique in the sense that we tend to forget to take care of ourselves first and foremost. And I think before we go on adventures, I think we need to really stop and think, okay, how do I take care of myself first? Because if you can't give from an empty cup. You need to make sure that your well-being is in a good space, your physical health is in a good space, your spiritual health is in a good space, and that you're grounded first and foremost, and then look outside to the growing and the developing and gaining the aspirations of what it is that you want to do. For me, I feel that having people I can communicate with, friendships, really strong friendships, knowing that conversations are rich and they're, positive, and they are, driven to strategizing or even just communicating about positive futures and empowering, those types of conversations. Being inspired by other people, and not that long ago I joined a wonderful group of leaders led by an incredible young lady. So going to things such as self-development opportunities, groups such as Aspire, for example, who, getting to know and see other people and getting to grow other people around you allows you to then focus your energies on moving forward.
Yeah, so being a role model, actually.
Yes, well, absolutely. Role modelling is, yes. And it's okay. One thing that's really important is you can be a role model and fail at the same time, and you can and allow people to see that you're human. I think one of the biggest things as a woman is that we bring a lot of empathy, and we tend to be very harsh on ourselves when we make mistakes. And I think it's important for us to ground ourselves and everyone around us that we are human and we do make mistakes, but we are able to empathise with the situation, or we are able to be fluid in our transformational leadership styles within groups, within the communities, and depending on the situations.
One of the traits of leaders, Mariam, is to lead a change, taking risk and lead a change. What's your approach in leading change in schools, since you are working in schools now?
Positive change. A positive change. Look, one of the biggest things I think in leading change is identifying resistance, knowing that it exists and not dismissing it. It's very important that we understand that people will resist, and it's important to understand where the resistance comes from. So when we lead change, we open opportunities for safe conversations, open opportunities for collaboration opportunities as well. being able to identify strengths and weaknesses, and then growing those weaknesses into strengths, and having people within teams identify, where they are strong and where they need development. But then understanding that the alignment of the values is really important too. So allowing opportunities for alignment conversations regarding values. And, when we're talking about a school vision, for example, it's important that people are all on board. And if they're not, that's okay, but have those conversations as to why and what we can do to move forward, and really look at whether it's a systems practice that is hindering the growth and development, or whether it's a personal, and being able to identify that and then finding strategies and solutions rather than just ignoring and just saying, it's got to be this or nothing.
But we all know that change often meets resistance. How do you overcome this challenge, Mariam?
Look, it will be an ongoing challenge, and the resistance is usually the point at which people want to express uncertainty, and sometimes it's about being uncertain about where the direction lies, or they can't see the progression, so there's resistance to change because it doesn't make sense to them, or they can't see the growth, or there's no vision for them. So it's important when we meet resistance to be able to open and explore and unpack why the resistance exists, and then strategizing to grow those opportunities to change. And having a look, and everyone's an individual, everyone will have a different form of resistance. It could be a personal resistance, it could be a structural resistance, and being able to identify that, unpack it, bring it down to its core, and then work your way back up from there, and then, strategize towards the future, identify what goals are. For someone, they might be resisting because their end goals or values don't align,
conflict,
and it's then making sure that they do.
So effective communication, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there is a saying, you don't really know what your values are until they are tested under pressure.
Absolutely.
Like, have you experienced a moment like that?
Yes. I mean, it's something that happens often. I think once you identify what you hold true and you hold dear and what your values are, when it's tested, and there is a misalignment, it's really important to recognise one of two things. Can you realign? Is there an opportunity of aligning back to the values where you stand firm, or is there a non-alignment? And if there's a non-alignment, then you'd have to look at, well, what other pathways or journeys should I be taking if it doesn't align? Alhamdulillah, been really blessed where my values and the values of, where I work align quite well. And it's, there isn't, for me, a misalignment, so I'm blessed in that sense. But if there was to be a misalignment, it would be, well, if that part of my chapter of my story ends here and I have to go and find something or work towards, somewhere that aligns more with my values, then that would absolutely be something that I would consider. But then in saying that, when you do have a place where you're aligned very well, you're able to grow a lot more too, because then you're not worried or scared or apprehensive again about the future or how the future.
So
what the future holds.
I'm curious, Mariam, which values rose on the surface where it's under pressure?
Trust.
Trust.
Absolutely. Look, for me, being trustworthy equates to being reliable, and competence. Reliability within my competence and the trustworthiness is all together. So.
Excellent. So that brings me to ask you or to do a small activity with you. So there are some items labels on that 3 cards. So the first one, values. There are 6 items under values, 6 under skill, and 6 under mindset. I want you to choose the most 3 important ones to you, and tell me that in order, And tell me why it's so important. And if you think there are or there one missing that's really important, just say it, please. So I will leave them for you. So
Yes,
we can start with values if
with
you
the
would
values.
like to.
Oh, look, they're all really good values. I would add trustworthiness in the values. I think that's a really important thing. But I love integrity. Authenticity is really important. Service.
And service, giving back.
Yeah, absolutely. But definitely, like the others are also values that I hold dear and would consider as part of my leadership character.
Shaped your leadership journey.
Yes.
Excellent. How about the mindset?
For mindset, resilience is something that stands out to me. Persistence is something, particularly with my journey, being able to be persistent and adaptable. Yeah, absolutely. Being able to adapt.
Are you a flexible person?
I'm a fairly flexible person. I love to, and I think that's really important as a characteristic in a leader, is to be flexible, to be malleable in situations and being fluid in conversations, being able to read the room, being able to adjust your tone and the requirements of the leadership skill that you need at the time based on what is required of you at the time.
I agree with you 100%. You can't be a leader if you not be flexible.
Yeah, no.
How about your growth mindset? Is that your skills now?
My skills.
How about your skills? Can you choose 3 of them?
They're all really good skills. One of the things that I resonate with quite well is the listening part. I think it's important, particularly as a leader, not to talk as often as you listen. I think it's important for people to recognise that listening and hearing, like it's not just about sitting in front of a person and nodding your head. It's about I'm hearing you, I'm taking on what you're saying, and then we can work together in moving forward or whatever it is. Communication obviously marries really well with listening. For me, there's the empowerment for me. Yeah, look, they're all good. Empowerment. I think empowering your team. I think that is vital for a strong team. The leader doesn't lead from the top; they lead within.
Yes.
And I think empowering people around you allows you don't have to be the person who just tells everybody to come on board and follow. I think we need more people to have teams that are able to say, look at where I'm at and look how fast I'm growing, and that's phenomenal. And we need to be the people who are clapping and cheering our team on, making sure that their growth opportunities are also realised.
Beautiful. Let's move into another aspect of your journey, from values to strategies now.
Okay.
Let's do some actions now. I have 4 boxes, but let me explain this. So during my doctoral research in business leadership, I conducted a survey with executives who have a high position into leadership. And I uncovered a recurring pattern, 4 key strategies they consistently used in their career. So I want you to look at these strategies. They are 4 strategies. So I want you to stack the boxes on top of each other, starting with the most important one to you. I will say the names of the strategies. So I want you to start stacking the boxes. So we have vision-driven transformation. We have trust-based decision-making. I have risk-taking through effective communication, continuous learning through renewal and innovation. So I want Mariam to see how she connects with these strategies and tell me what's the most important one for her now in her leadership journey.
Okay, so if I start with the first one that I feel is the most important.
Yes.
Goodness, there's 2 that are sort of really, really close. So risk-taking through effective communication, I think, is really important. And in order to do that, you need trust-based decision-making.
Okay.
In order to do that, we need to have vision-driven transformation, because the trust drives the vision, and then continuous learning as you grow as a team.
So the most important one is this one.
Yes.
So I want you to open one box at a time, and you will find a piece of chocolate inside.
I love chocolate.
So I want you to tell me what it represents to Mariam, this flavor. What's the connection between this one and how tied to your leadership journey?
Okay, well, if we're talking about risks taking through effective communication, sea salt, I'm not a fan of sea salt, by the way. I love caramel, though. Yeah. And I think taking the risk of trying something new, sea salt with a bit of caramel brittle, I think definitely if I was to relate it to the chocolate, I think taking the risk of eating a chocolate that is something that I wouldn't usually do. So maybe, doing something that you don't usually do, taking the risk of the unknown, maybe even if you're not 100% wary or approving of the type of chocolate it is, that you will take the risk anyway. And then, come out and do a comparison, do some reflection. You may like it and you may not, but at least I can communicate that to you and tell you whether or not I like it.
So is it the most important box for you?
For me, look, it's important, particularly through the effective communication. Like I said, maybe trust. These two, risk-taking through and effective communication, trust-based decision-making, probably.
Show me which chocolate you have inside.
Let me have a look at that chocolate.
So I want you to talk about the most important boxes for you and the flavour that connected with.
Ooh.
And you are welcome to taste the chocolate as well.
Oh, goodness. Do you really want me to talk with my mouth full? Pear and Manuka honey. Wow, trust.
How it's connected to trust?
We know that Manuka honey heals. I think trust is a healing factor, isn't it? When people are communicating and they feel safe, they feel like they are able to connect, then they are able to make a decision because they feel comfortable in doing so, and they don't feel uneasy, or they don't feel like they have to second guess because they feel confident. Particularly with the people that
Excellent.
they are. I feel like Manuka honey will, definitely.
Thank you so much, Mariam. If there's any fifth strategy you want us to know about you that you didn't find among these 4 strategies, and it's really, really connected to your personal journey?
One of the strategies that I think, while these are strategies, I think the collaborative strategy within the team, I think maybe collaboration and growing strengths,
yep.
I think is because while these are really fantastic and there's strategies on growing other teams, I think being able to give autonomy to your team.
What's your strength, Mariam?
What's my strength? Oh, goodness. My strength is being able to provide space for communication. I'm able to give advice. I feel that I'm honest and trustworthy, and I feel like I can be reliable, and that's really important for my team, that I can be the boulder on which they stand.
Excellent. Finally, what message would you like to share with other women aspiring to lead? What do you want to say to other women briefly?
Really importantly, I think that I'd like to tell other women to believe in themselves, don't second guess, and really think deep about what it is that you want and how you'd like to get there, and do it. Just be, you're stronger than you realise, and you're more than capable if you let yourself, give yourself those opportunities. Absolutely.
I'll take your advice, Mariam. Thank you so much for this time. It was really, really amazing.
Thank
you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us on the Leaders Code. If today's conversation lit a spark within you, remember that leadership isn't about title. It's a journey written by your choices, your values, and your courage. You already carry your own code of leadership. Keep shaping it. keep living it, and most importantly, keep sharing it. Until next time, we will be here uncovering more wisdom, one story at a time.